Oklahoma Sooners on the verge of another transfer portal edition.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase over at Game Time. He's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. The Oklahoma Sooners are hosting a couple of transfer portal targets this week. One defensive tackle, Sialoa Ricky Lolohea, who first committed to Oklahoma State out of high school, then transferred to Utah State, where he spent a little time under Nate Dreiling when he was the interim head coach and defensive coordinator there. And they're also hosting Lance Mason, a tight end out of Missouri State. Jay, let's talk about the defensive tackle target, Lolohea. What could he potentially bring to the Oklahoma Sooners?
Well, he comes in at about 6'3", well over 300 pounds, 247 as at 330, which was probably a typo, but he is like 303 or 305 on Utah State. So played at Oklahoma State. He redshirted that year. It's where he initially went, like you mentioned, with the Utah State where Nate Dreiling was at. So you have that connection. He's also from Euless,
Trinity.
Euless, Texas. Yeah, so
Yep.
you got a Texas kid.
Yeah.
Brings him closer back to home, which is probably a good thing. But I'd say he adds an additional depth component on the defensive line, more so someone that's really good. He's got good size. It's going to be all. I think he'll be really good on the practice side initially. He's definitely a project, someone that you need to get stronger, get the footwork together. But you kind of need another body to go down there with Trent Wilson, as he's really your only young defensive lineman outside of like Stoney and Jaden Jackson, but you want to have somebody in that range. And I think that he would add you a good defensive, like I said, like a good depth piece to have just in case.
Yeah, he projects as a nose tackle, in my opinion. And coming out of Euless Trinity, like if you know much about DFW football, Euless Trinity is the place where you go to play tough defense. Like that is a tough program, a toughness program. So he's going to come to Oklahoma already with the right mentality to play along the interior defensive line. He had offers from Texas Tech. He had offers from SMU. And again, obviously Oklahoma State. Chose to go out of state to start his collegiate career and then transferred to Utah State. But 3 years of eligibility, man, I like this. This is kind of what we were talking about, right? On yesterday's show, if you're going to continue to add guys, look for guys that are going to have multiple years of eligibility and guys that you think have the potential to grow into having a significant role on this team. And I think Lolohea has that. You talked about having a group of defensive linemen, beyond, Dejon Terry. Well, Dejon Terry's gone. Well, beyond Dominic Williams, who will go to the NFL after this year, beyond Grayson Halton, who's going to go to the NFL this year, then you're going to be pretty young. You're going to have David Stone and Jaden Jackson as kind of your front runners to start at defensive tackle next year, followed by maybe a Marcus Strong, Trent Wilson, and then what? Well, adding a Lolohea, he gives you another good depth piece and somebody who could back up Jaden Jackson at the nose tackle spot. If he can grow into that role and become a better player than what he's seen so far. He only played like 150 snaps with Utah State last year. So again, he's very inexperienced, very raw. But again, you like the size, you like the traits, you like some of the mentality that he's going to come to Oklahoma with. I like the idea that they're going to pursue this kid and see what they can get. Not everybody that they pursue out of the transfer portal is going to come in as a former 5-star prospect. You're going to look for traits that you feel like you can develop and make a significant part of your team.
He fits what you would want right there in that nose tackle role. And like you said, if he grows and gets better, probably needs to put on some weight. If he is already 330, he probably needs to just shape that weight. If he is like 305, then he needs to up his weight, get him to about 320 and get him very mobile. No, I think that he could be good. He could be someone that could be developed into someone good at that spot. He didn't play very much at Utah State. He didn't play at all at Oklahoma State. He redshirted. So he's definitely going to be a project, and it's nothing wrong with having those when you have them that far down the depth chart. It's always good to have that because not only has a really good practice body, he can, start picking up from everybody else. You never know. He could turn into something. I mean, heck, we didn't know about Jaden Jackson as a 3-star until he, showed us that he is really good.
Yep. And you get with Todd Bates, and who knows what can happen. Again, football is a developmental game. You get with the right developer, and who knows what kind of player that they can unlock at Oklahoma if he commits to Oklahoma. Like their chances, but you got to get that commitment first. The other guy that they are pursuing is Lance Mason, tight end out of Missouri State. Now you're talking about Missouri State, you're talking about FCS football. At the same time, this was a guy that was productive with the what are they, the Bobcats, the Wildcats? I can't remember. I have PTSD about Missouri State because I had one of my worst lacrosse games ever against them in the mud over spring break. It was terrible. Anyway, but Lance Mason had 590 receiving yards on 34 catches, averaging 17.35 yards per reception with 6 touchdowns. Like, that's salty, dude. If you're talking about production at the tight end position, yes, it's a lower level of competition. He'd have to come to Oklahoma and he'd have to prove that he's ready to take that step, and he's going to have to compete for a role because, again, you got a lot of guys at the tight end position that are competing for snaps, but you can't minimize that 17 yards per reception. That's hard to get in the tight end spot.
It is. And I mean, remember, our leading receiver last year was Bauer Sharp. And as much as people would like to bash him, I kind of miss him, to be honest. He would do really well in this offense, mainly because he wouldn't have to be the number one. And for Lance Mason, his goal is to go out there and make catches. If he's able to get open, which in some of the film I watched of him on social media, looks like he knows how to separate and find ways to get open. We saw it with Bauer Sharp. He had moments where he would get open, he would go down and make some catches. But when you're like the only person in the wide receiver room that seems to be able to make and figure that out, and the offensive scheme was not all that great, yeah, you're going to look bad. So I'll say this. I think Lance has an opportunity to be able to walk in and be one of the better receiving tight ends that we have. And that, to me, is big enough. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I really care that much about tight end for us this year, especially in Arbuckle's system. I don't think it's that big of a deal yet. Granted, we do need to put up some numbers if we ever want to get a big-time tight end, especially either out of the portal or as a high school recruit. We're going to have to do something to show that the tight end can fit. But this coming season, look, somebody's going to surprise us and put up similar numbers to what Lance did. They're going to put up the, 30-something to 500 yards and a few touchdowns. Somebody's going to do that, and that's going to lead to a tight end saying, I can probably double that because I know I'm better than that, and then you may actually attract somebody. So I know everybody's going to be up in arms, but remember, this is the spring portal. This is typically when you see a lot more of the lower ranking people get pulled up into the uppers because all the uppers are now kicking people out that did not produce like they thought they would up through spring. You're looking for guys that gave us numbers. And if they can get a dude that can produce, it doesn't matter where they came from. Produce. That's all that matters. Like kickers, I want a kicker that's really good at kicking. I don't care where you came from. Right. If you give me over 70% kicking percentage and you can make some distance, I don't care what school you came from. Get your butt here.
Yeah, just consider it like Major League Baseball, right? You might not always be adding guys that have Major League experience, but you've got potentially talented players in the minor leagues that you can call up and add to your roster. So just a few notes from his bio over at Missouri State's website. He was an AP FCS All-American. Or an honorable mention All-American. So pretty notable. At one point in time, he earned the Offensive Showtime Award after a 57-yard touchdown reception against Ball State, against Youngstown State, and Murray State. He earned the Offensive Grinder Award. I mean, that sounds like a Brent Venables guy, in my opinion. He was a co-captain in high school. So listen, this is a guy that's going to come with the right mentality and the right mindset to come in and at least work his tail off to try and earn a role.
Yeah. You just want somebody to come in that's going to compete. And at this point, we're just looking, we need additional body. We need probably one more tight end. We probably could use, we all know for the most part, we could use a tight end. We could use a wide receiver, a corner, defensive lineman, and probably a linebacker. It's probably the 5 positions and a kicker. So there's probably the 6 positions. You could use one more person, but if you need something critical, I think tight end, kicker, and D-line are the ones that are most important. And I think we may actually solve that problem next few days.
Yep. And you're going to at least add competitive depth here with,
Yes.
if you're able to get a Lance Mason. If they do get commitments from either of these guys, we will talk about it here on Locked On Sooners. We're going to ask the question, though, is the offense good to go for 2025? We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. And today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, as their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Here's why we use Game Time. The all-in pricing means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay when you toggle on that feature inside the app, the all-in pricing feature. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, spring ball is more than a week and a half finished. And I've just got this wondering. I'm wondering how you feel about it, how Sooner Nation feels about it. What's your confidence level in the Oklahoma Sooners offense going into 2025?
As of right now, even with Giovanni and Jaden Gibson both being down due to, some pretty, big injuries, I feel pretty good about the offense. I think John Mateer's a baller. We've learned it. He plays with that confidence that you need, and it looks like he's working closely with his receivers. If anything, I would like to see... We probably need to see Mateer work more with some of the other receivers. I know that him and Giovanni Gibson built a nice bond. Deion Burks built a nice bond. You're seeing him a little bit with Carson Kent as well as Will Huggins. I need him to really get into the lab with a Zion Kearney, get very close to Keontez Lewis, Isaiah Satania. He's probably going to need to get very acclimated and close with 6 different dudes and try to make sure he gets the ball to them in the right way, which I have faith he will. And then now you got Jaden Ott you got to get the ball to on a regular basis because he likes to catch the ball out of the backfield and run. We saw Xavier Robinson can. So to me, the offense has enough weapons for me to be confident that they should move up, at least cut their ranking in half from where they were last year. At minimum, they'll be able to do that. So that puts them in the 55 range and then going up as far as offenses. But John, the one thing that I feel like I'm way more confident in, it makes me a little nervous, that offensive line. I think we've got a 2 deep finally that I trust can play. Last year, it wasn't that they were bad because they had a lot of bad moments. They were very inexperienced. But you saw that progression as the season happened, even with the injuries. You start to see them get better. So for me, the offensive line, of course, is the end-all be-all for us. And I think we're going to be just fine there.
If the offensive line is good, they're going to have a chance to be one of the better offenses in the country. If it's great, they'll be a top 10 offense. If it's average, it's going to be, we'll see. It could be an up and down season again, but I still think even with an average offensive line, this team scores a lot more points than what they did last year.
Yeah.
And a lot of it does rest on the shoulders of John Mateer. And you don't want to put everything on one guy, but the quarterback position, you kind of need that guy sometimes. And John Mateer has the feel of a guy that can carry the program. He can carry the weight of Oklahoma football fandom on his shoulders. He's a confident dude. He does not shy away from the responsibilities or the expectations that come with being the Oklahoma Sooners quarterback. And he's just leading in the right way. Will it translate Will it translate to success on the field this fall? We'll see. But I think there's a reasons to be confident about it. I think if you can get that offensive line play, it'll help everything else out. The problem you ran into last year was not just that the wide receivers were injured. It's that the wide receivers and the offensive line were banged up and inexperienced. If you had a healthy offensive line, you would have felt fine with your group of receivers, and Jackson Arnold might have felt a little bit more comfortable to be able to let it rip sometimes.
Yes.
But you combine a banged up offensive line with inexperienced offensive line, with a banged up wide receiver crew that was also very inexperienced, with a quarterback that was also very inexperienced, and it just created the worst possible circumstances for an offense to actually be in. Now you've got an experienced quarterback that carries himself with a lot of swagger. You've got an offensive line that's going to be a lot more experienced when you bring in guys like Derek Simmons and you bring back, a Troy Everett and a Fabechi Wiwu, and you're emerging with an Eddie Pierre-Louis. And then you've got a couple guys in Ryan Foje and Michael Fasusi that everybody is raving about right now. And then you add a Jake Michaela to push Troy Everett at center. And yeah, there's a lot to be confident and at least optimistic about. Now they just got to go perform.
Yeah, that's all we need them to do. If you go perform, I think we'll be good. One other thing, though, one observation I got from the Crimson Combine when it comes to John Mateer is just how much I think he's really going to be able to help Michael Hawkins. Mm-hmm. The one thing I noticed about Hawkins, similar to the problem we had with Jackson Arnold, was it felt like they were afraid to make a mistake and throw the ball. Well, John Mateer throws interceptions in practice, as in he throws them and he's willing to forget and go out there and grind it out again. You need to be able to see that somebody else is willing to make a mistake, be okay with it, apologize to his receivers, remind himself, go here instead of there, and then go back out there as if that didn't happen, to get everybody else around him to get the confidence to say, oh, okay, so we cool with these type of mistakes. Yeah, I'm cool with my quarterback going deep or trying to thread the needle on a deeper pass and occasionally gets tipped, intercepted, or somebody tries to cut across. Now, I don't want him to be telegraphed, but I do want him to take risk and make opportunities, because the good thing for both of them is you have a defense you can truly lean on. The thing is, don't make a mistake after the defense forces a turnover. Don't give the ball back instantaneously, which we did that in a couple of games that we probably should have won. So I think Mateer having that confidence and that quote unquote moxie and being willing to take those chances and risks, I think that's going to do nothing but up the Michael Hawkins stock after him, to where I think Hawk can go out there and really show out for like 2 years. Because then at that point, he'll feel like, okay, I'm going to do that just as Mateer did. I'm going to throw those passes. I'm going to launch it, and let's see what happens. And to me, once you get him throwing and teams are forced to respect the pass, his dual threat ability is going to make him jump even more.
Yeah, he's going to zoom when he gets his opportunity to play. And I think the addition of Ben Arbuckle, I think, can't be overstated. You've got a guy that has had success at several different stops along the way with several different styles of quarterback. And the connection that he's got with John Mateer is going to create a little bit more symmetry in the offense this year. Whereas last year, there was that discussion of, hey, Seth Luttrell's calling the plays, but they're trying to keep as much of Jeff Lebby's offense in there as possible so that Jackson Arnold feels more comfortable. There was just never any cohesion in the offense. Yeah. And that kind of stuff matters. And that chemistry between the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, that kind of stuff matters as well. It's like a pitcher and a catcher. You got to have great chemistry and communication to be able to know what to call, when to call it, how to call it, what's working for your guy that day, what's not working for your guy that day. That's a lot of what the offensive coordinator has to be able to do, is adjust things to what's working in a given situation, in a given circumstance throughout the season. Hey, this thing that we wanted to do when we were in spring ball and fall camp, it's not flying right now. We got to adjust that. We can't keep trying to do the same old thing. And that was a part of the big issue that happened last year, is just too many times trying to fit square pegs into round holes, and it just wasn't going to work out. So a little bit more cohesion, a little bit more chemistry on the offensive side of the ball, a healthier offensive line with more experience. And listen, if you got Deion Burks and Isaiah Satania healthy for a full season, I feel great about Oklahoma's wide receivers, because this offense is going to get those guys the ball in space and let them make plays after the catch, which is where those guys shine. So to finish it out, on a scale of 0 to 10, how confident are you in Oklahoma's offense?
I am about a 8 right now. They can move me up to a 9 if they show me that if we one, land a tight end, or 2, the tight ends that we currently have show me that they're either not needed as much, but they're going to be productive, or they're very productive. If these tight ends are productive, then I'm probably closer to a 10. I'll be like a 9.5.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm at a 7 right now, and that comes after the addition of Jaden Ott, the running back, who will provide another dynamic element to the offense. I just need to see Jacob Sexton healthy and developing. I need to see Eddie Pierre-Louis take the step everybody expects him to take, and I think Oklahoma's offensive line is going to be good enough for Oklahoma to go be very, very explosive and very consistent offensively. And that's what you need. That's all you'll need. You don't need them to go score 50 points a game. Would it be great? Absolutely. Go score 50 points a game. But if they're up to 30 to 35 points per game on a regular basis, they're going to win a lot of football games, because this defense is going to be really good. We'll talk about our confidence in the Oklahoma Sooners defense on our next episode. But next, we got to talk about another big win for Porter Moser. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
Baseball season's in full swing, and there's no better way to get in the action than with Prize Picks, the best play for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to $1,000 times your cash. It's like 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, Prize Pick keeps every game exciting. So like for me, I'm looking at Tanner Bigsby against the Yankees with 6. I'm going to go more 6 pitcher strikeouts. And I think Nick Martinez going up against Miami could get 5. I'm going to give them both on the more just because I'm feeling froggy. So you can get to the action. So download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. Also, go check out Locked On Thunder with our guy Rylan Stiles, getting you all the insight and information on everything that's happening with the Oklahoma City Thunder during their what's going to be a great playoff run, man. I'm excited to see what SGA and those boys do. Again, as a lifelong Thunder fan. No, recently converted Dallas Mavericks fan because of Nico Harrison and Luka Doncic. But listen, this is going to be another fascinating basketball season for Oklahoma basketball, because they're having to retool again on the fly. Now, they kept some big time players in Mohamed Weggy and Dayton Forsyth and added a really nice recruiting class, but they've also done some really good work in the transfer portal with Porter Moser leading the way, and they've added Xavier Brown out of St. Joe's. This is a dude that averaged 17 points per game for the Hawks, of St. Joe Hawks last season. He had 14 games of 20 points or more, including 20 against Texas Tech in a win. That's a solid win. He had another 20-point game against Virginia Commonwealth, strong basketball program. He had 18 against Dayton, 20 against Davidson. So this is a dude that can fill it up, man. He's a good player. 42.1% shooter from the field, a 30% free throw shooter or 3-point shooter, but another point guard that we talked about it before. It gives the Sooners the opportunity to play Nigel Pack at the shooting guard position, where that dude really thrives.
Yeah, you can allow him to shoot the ball. Like you said, that's where he thrives. And so Xavier Brown, his stepfather, is now a coach here at Oklahoma, and he's supposedly really good at coaching shooters. So if that is the case, Oklahoma just added themselves another big piece from the transfer portal. That's three transfers so far, and it sounds like Oklahoma is still in the hunt for some additional pieces. But you got Kai Rogers coming in, Andreas Hoyst coming in from Denmark, then Alec Blair, the small forward, coming in. So 6 new players will be coming in, and I think eight have left. So not bad. A little bit of a refresh, but I think you did upgrade with Brown and Pack as your guard play, and you still get T. Davis, who also came in from Notre Dame. So Oklahoma's out here. This team could be better than they were last year if Porter can make it all work together with the returning guys and these. There's some cohesion, and there's actual feels like there's a game plan. I think Oklahoma can be a true threat next season.
Yeah, I think one of the things that held them back a little bit at times is just the consistency shooting the ball. Now, if they get more consistency, which again, a guy like Nigel Pack, he's really good from 3. If they add another guy that can hit from downtown regularly, that helps open everything else up in Porter Moser's offense that does create a lot of 3-point opportunities. It's just you got to have the guys that are going to hit those on a regular basis. Now, you're not going to have a Jeremiah Fears. Like, you don't have a potential lottery pick on the team. You've got guys with a lot of potential, guys like Hoyst and Blair and Kai Rogers. Like, a lot of people are really, really high on Kai Rogers' game. Yeah. And you're adding another big, which you needed. You got Weggy, who was really good down the stretch for Oklahoma, especially after Sam Godwin got hurt. He came through in big moments for the Sooners, played a lot of big minutes down the stretch in the SEC tournament, in the NCAA tournament. So you get him back, and that brings you a veteran presence in the middle. But then you got, Hoyst, and you got Rogers that you're adding in. And then don't forget about Cool Attack. I mean, the 4-star player out of my alma mater, actually, Haltom High, there in Haltom City, Texas.
Okay.
That dude's he's a big, he just needs to add some girth to him. Like, he's just a rail. So if they can add some weight, get him a little Schmitty built on the basketball side of things, then he'll be good to go too. It's just, you've got to continue to develop him. And listen, Dayton Forsyth, like, he may not be on everybody's NBA draft radar, but the dude's just a gamer, and you've got to have those kind of glue guys in your program. And he's going to continue to play significant minutes, even though Oklahoma's brought in 2 veteran guards. He's going to get a lot of minutes still because he proved capable when he got those minutes down the stretch in SEC play and again in the NCAA tournament. And he'll continue to get better, and he'll continue to develop. But you've got a roster that's capable of getting back into the NCAA tournament mix. And I think with the additions that they've got on the interior, with a Tay Davis, with Kai Rogers, potentially they've got better depth inside than what they had last year when so much of the game was reliant upon Sam Godwin. They've got better depth inside, I think.
And that's the good thing, as you mentioned, that they added a lot of, they added 3 dudes that average double digits, 13, 15, and 17 respectfully. So you had guys that can actually put up numbers and have put up numbers, proven numbers in college basketball, so the bigger thing for Oklahoma is now just being, like you said, consistent on the shooting, consistent on the making shots, making threes. And I think you can do that with Pack and Brown. I don't have too many concerns with those 2. Those give me a little bit more confidence in what Porter Moser is going to be able to do, even though I'm still on the train of he should probably be fired. But hey, he didn't take a job anywhere else. So we're going to keep him for as long as he's going to be here until he gets that job in the Midwest.
Well, and listen, this is a great opportunity to continue to build the program. Having continuity helps. And Porter Moser, man, that dude can generate some buzz. Now it's a matter of building on that. And he's built upon the NCAA tournament appearance, and the guys that they're getting in the transfer portal are coming from places that are better basketball programs than what they were doing a year before, right? When they were getting guys from like High Point and Directional California School. And I can't remember where all these guys came from, but nobody was coming from a major college program, right? They were all coming from lower level. I wouldn't even call them mid majors. Some of them were like low majors, programs, but you're getting a guy for like a Nigel Pack out of Miami. You're getting Tay Davis out of Notre Dame. St. Jones out of the Atlantic 10. Like the Atlantic 10 may be a mid-major conference, but it's a basketball conference. It's like the Big East, right? You're going to play basketball in the Atlantic 10. So what they've done is they had a tournament team. They built on it through the portal, and they're recruiting higher level talent, I think, than what they did last year.
So all it takes is for you to get just the right players together that want to work hard and just contribute the number that you could kind of look at this as Moneyball. If you really want to think about it, like Billy Bean did, it's get enough dudes that will pull up double-digit numbers on a regular basis consistently and feel comfortable with that number. You might lead yourself to the ability to get yourself around 70, 80 points a game and win. Now I got to see what the defense look like. That's a big question for me.
Yep. Just get back to the tournament. Like if you can make it back to the tournament, back-to-back years, I think you're onto something. You got a nice trajectory ahead of you. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that subscribe button over on YouTube and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Also, for your second listen of the day, go check out the Locked On NFL Draft Show with our guy Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez as your favorite collegiate players. Get ready for the next level. Get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's draft week. The NFL draft is upon us. Where will Danny Stutzman go? Where will Billy Bowman go? Will Ethan Downs get selected? We'll find out this weekend, but go check out Locked On NFL Draft. Jay, are you a fan of draft day?
I am a big draft day person. I was very addicted to draft day as a child. I used to write down every single pick for the NBA and NFL, regardless of the fact that it would be in the newspaper the next day. I just did it because I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I am a very big draft person still. I'll be tuned in, and hopefully Oklahoma can maintain its streak of 22 consecutive drafts with at least 3 people drafted.
Yeah, when we lived in Ethiopia, I'd be up till all hours of the night watching the NFL draft. One, covering it, writing about it, but also just excited to see what the Dallas Cowboys were going to do. So hopefully my Dallas Cowboys don't make me sad. They
will.
We'll have to talk like favorite draft moments here on a show this week before we get to the NFL draft, because I've got some fun times. But also Draft Day, the movie with Kevin Costner, Jennifer Garner. Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Our man Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P. As Vontae Mack, no matter what. Vontae Mack, no matter what. So anyway, make sure you go follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners. Wherever you like to do your social media stuff, go follow us there as well. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner. One more time. Let's go.
Let's go. Vontae Mack, no matter what.